Alright, good afternoon from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Ako po si Carl Sayat and I will be your host for this afternoon session. Welcome to the first installment of NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup. Isa itong collaboration ng mga NSTP units mula sa lahat ng UP constituent universities, UP Baguio, UP Cebu, UP Diliman, UP Los Baños, UP Manila, UP Mindanao, UP Open University at UP Visayas. Of course, binabati rin namin ang ating mga participant mula sa iba't ibang panig ng Pilipinas through Zoom at sa UP Diliman NSTP YouTube Live. So bago po tayo magsimula with our program for this afternoon, we'd like to discuss a few house rules for our participants on Zoom and on YouTube Live. First, we will prioritize questions gathered in the registration forms for our Q&A. For other questions, please use the Q&A tab of our webinar. You can upvote other participants' questions by clicking the up button. Second, please indicate to whom your question is for. For example, to address a speaker, to Professor Diliman, how is NSTP conducted in your unit? And lastly, certificates will be awarded to those who request for one and comply with minimum requirements through the webinar evaluation form. The link for the webinar evaluation form will be announced at the end of the session. So yun po ang ating house rules for this afternoon's program. And on that note, let us now open today's webinar and the NSTP Online webinar series with the Director of the NSTP Diliman Office, Professor Dennis Kilala.
Maraming salamat, Carl. Pagbati po mula sa mga tanggapan ng NSTP, ng UP Baguio, UP Cebu, UP Los Baños, UP Manila, UP Mindanao, UP Open University, UP Visayas at ng UP Diliman. Our NSTP offices are presenting to you NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, LTS in a remote learning setup. The pandemic has presented challenges in implementing RA 9163. With flexible learning, physical distancing, and other restrictions, we persevered. This afternoon, we will have a sharing from representatives of UP Visayas, UP Los Baños, and UP Diliman in implementing ROTC Online. What worked? What are the challenges? What did we learn? And how can we improve our current strategies? We also encourage you to share your own experiences so that we can learn from one another. Before I end, I'll just like to remind everyone of the upcoming webinars that are related to NSTP Online. So CWTS Part 1 will be on July 21st, Wednesday. CWTS Part 2 will be July 22nd, Thursday. Tapos yung LTS po will be July 27, Tuesday. Lahat po yan 2:00 ng hapon. Sana po sa pamamagitan ng mga webinar na ito, magpatuloy ang masikhay at matapat na serbisyo para po sa bayan. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Professor Kilala. Now, let us move on to our first speaker for this afternoon. Our first speaker po ay manggagaling mula sa UP Visayas. Lieutenant Colonel Eugenio Osorio Original, Judge Advocate General Services, Reserve Philippine Army, is a trial lawyer with a specialization in litigation. He holds a position in the Armed Forces of the Philippines as a reservist officer with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. At present, he is the Deputy Brigade Commander of the 1801st Ready Reserve Infantry Brigade, Reserve, 6 RCDG, ARESCOM, and concurrently in service as Group Commander of the 5th Civil Military Affairs Brigade, Visayas Reserve. He is also an honorary member of UP Vanguard Incorporated, Panay Negros Chapter. Performing his duties as the commandant of the UP Visayas ROTC from 2018 until the present, he is the first reservist officer to have ever claimed the highest title in the same unit. So let us all welcome Lieutenant Colonel Eugenio Osorio Original for his presentation.
Thank you, sir. Professor Dennis Kilala, Director NSTP UP Diliman, Director Dario Salaong, NSTP UPB Director, Professor Shelo Monyala Jr., Coordinator, NSTP UP Mindanao, Ms. Sarina Lopez of the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, UP Diliman. To my fellow servant of the people, fellow volunteers, First Lieutenant Edwin Balmadred Dala, Philippine Army Reserve of UP Los Baños, and Lieutenant Elmer Jan Anisiti, Medical Administrative Corps Reserve of UP Diliman, and to the organizers of this webinar, and to all members of the UP community listening right now, good afternoon to all of you. I hope you will have a COVID-free days ahead. My presentation of the practice of the UPB ROTC unit in imparting knowledge on the ROTC subjects to our ROTC cadets, 98 all enrolled, 106 including advanced, may not be the best under the circumstances, but so far, this is the best that you can do under this period. My presentation is limited only on what we did during this period of pandemic under the GCQ, MECQ, MGCQ. We did not touch on what we do during normal times where face-to-face instructions are allowed. The period covered is annual year 2020-2021 and maybe 2021-2022 or thereafter. I did not cover the previous years where face-to-face instructions are allowed. This webinar is timely and appropriate for we may be able to learn from each other from the information that we could share to each and everyone. Gentlemen and ladies, this is what we have done. The points of discussion are the common module, handling of ROTC in the first semester, make-up lectures over the semestral break, handling of ROTC in the second semester, and what work, and the challenges faced by UPB ROTC unit. We have not participated in the handling of the common module because we will admit that we were not prepared. Although there were offers from the NSTP director, if we would like to participate in the common module lectures. But because, as I admit now, we were not really prepared, we were shocked, and we do not know what to do. So we did not accept the offer as we usually do during the past years. The common module is supposed to be the launching pad for us to campaign for more freshman students to choose ROTC as their component. For the first semester, we know that the ROTC program in the first semester is designed to introduce the cadets rather, to ROTC in a way that it isn't toxic to their online learning situations. The idea was self-taught discipline, initiative, and independence. No synchronous sessions were held. Instead, the cadets were provided with lecture materials on the ROTC topics. Attendance was recorded based on the timely compliance of each cadet with the deadlines of the requirements given. Requirements were given 2 weeks in advance to allow them time to properly plan for their submission. These 2 weeks were also given in anticipation of any possible complications due to connectivity issue or issues. These requirements were designed to only take up a few hours of each cadet's time, considering their academic works too. Unfortunately, ROTC proper started extremely late due to delays in the academic calendar and delays with the common module and issues with the UPB ROTC LMS account. As such, only 2 requirements were given. An exam covering each of the introductory topics, an essay requirement where cadets would detail the reason for choosing ROTC. While it is not allowed, or shall we say, not expressly allowed by the university policy to hold classes during sem break, to make up for the lack of time that ROTC had in the first semester, make-up instructions were held over the sem break. Said instructions were not required, as I said, in accordance with university policy. These were synchronous lectures given by guest lecturers and cadet officers to supplement the information on the lecture materials given to the cadets in the first semester. As such, even if a cadet was unable to join the lecture, they still had access to the lessons being discussed. During this period, both the unit staff and cadet officers made an effort to actively engage with the cadets to encourage them to join the lectures. During the second semester, the ROTC program for the second semester was designed to accomplish 2 primary objectives: to develop spirit decor through an online platform, produce cadets who are proficient in military theory. To accomplish this, all main requirements given were done in groups. The requirements were also designed in a way that proper collaboration would be necessary for the completion of each task. The concept of self-taught discipline, initiative, and independence was also applied in the second semester. However, synchronous sessions do not require were held, the recordings of which were made available to the cadets. The final requirement given was to make a batch IPB group, complete with a batch banner, batch motto, and presentation of them performing their batch songs. The final requirement was designed in their manner for the following reasons: lack of availability of personnel to facilitate an exam, because practically our staff is non-functional because we have not even met for once. Only this commandant and the corps commander of the cadets, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Jill E. Diliman, were facilitating all these things. The lack of availability of personnel, as I said, to facilitate the exams was the reason why this kind of requirement were given, increasing stress on cadet officers and cadets from the demands of other major subjects, and the need to have the cadets perform a task as one batch, which is what they would normally do by performing a military parade if weren't for the pandemic. As we know, teamworks are developed during drill and ceremonies. Teamworks are developed during marching. And so, since we cannot do that, we do it in this manner. And what worked? Most of the cadets performed their given requirements well and exhibited a high level of learning of the topics that were taught to them. The Corps Commander and his Commandant also observed that generally the cadets were eager to learn and were enthusiastic about ROTC. A proper officer to subordinate relationships was also established between the cadets and the cadet officers. Also, the cadets seem to have bonded well enough with each other despite their interaction being limited to online. The challenges that we have faced. Since the previous ROTC coordinator retired and timing during this pandemic, the unit had to operate without one for the entire academic year. The ROTC coordinator is at the forefront of most admin functions and acts as the unit's liaison to both the university and the 6th RCDG. The commander and corps commander, rather the commandant and the corps commander took up the functions of the coordinator. However, they often clash with their other existing responsibilities. As a result, many administrative matters remain unresolved up to now, like the matter of the program's budget, among others, or what we call POEA. For the past 2 years, even with the liaison officer present, we have not received any amount from the university administration as a portion of the budget from the NSTP because of some technical problems. Like, I do not know the requirements, so many requirements to be submitted because the system at the UP Visayas is that we spend first, then refund. So, meaning, we spend money from our own pockets, then we present to them the receipts for refund. It's very hard. It's very hard. It's the commandant, the staff, and sometimes the cadet officers that contributes in order to spend for the activities of the unit. I suggested even before that if possible, the budget intended for ROTC should be given immediately to the ROTC office through the commandant or the corps commander or the logistic officer, so that in the event that we need the money for our activities, we will just get it from that fund and maybe liquidate the same like any other schools are doing. But in UP, it's quite very, very, very hard. Fortunately, the university has already started to process or finding a new coordinator at this time to assist us. So, other challenges, the toxic environment for cadet officers. ROTC is typically designed in a way that the cadet officers will be responsible for most of its functions. Unfortunately, this was not sustainable in the case of UPB ROTC for this academic year. Only one cadet officer, the corps commander, had a stable and reliable internet connection. The rest either had unstable internet or even no internet at all. So it's only the corps commander and the commandant talking to each other how to do things in the unit. Moreover, many of the other cadet officers had to be temporarily excused from performing their unit functions due to the diagnosed mental health complications and family problems, many of which were related to the stresses of the online learning environment and the pandemic. So one of our first-class cadet, a very responsible officer, had a leave of absence because of this problem. Additionally, since it is still the adjustment period, some requirements from other major subjects were more demanding than they should have been. As such, on several occasions, the cadet officers have had to sacrifice time meant for the unit in order to accomplish the requirement for their major subjects. And this we understand. The current situation was too toxic for the cadet officers to the point that one first class, as I stated earlier, had to take a leave of absence, and another first class has to have an incomplete grade because he cannot anymore be contacted in the latter months of the year. Also, the second class have expressed throughout the academic year that they are seriously considering dropping their officership because of how toxic its demands can be. As a result, the quality of instructions suffered, and the unit fell behind on any of the deadlines. Many of the cadets were unable to attend the synchronous sessions because of unstable internet connection. Though these sessions were not required, as we said, it was done during SIM break, it was still supplementary learnings that they missed out on. Internet issues also posed a problem during their group requirements, making online collaboration difficult. Also, communication with cadets was difficult to navigate in its early stages, and communicating with the cadets through other platforms risk not being to reach them at all. There weren't many officers or personnel who could personally reach out to the cadets who could not be reached through LMS or other platforms. As such, in the first semester, as stated, there was one cadet who incurred on incomplete grades simply because they were not receiving the unit's announcements and communications. This incomplete, however, has since been resolved. And in the second semester, there was yet another cadet who also incurred an incomplete for the same reason in the process of being resolved right now. Stresses from online learning, similar to how the current situation proved toxic to the cadet officers, the same could be said for the cadets. Several cadets have had to take a leave of absence because of the issues related to online learning. It was also difficult to measure and influence the overall morale of the unit since interaction with cadets was limited to online. There are practical instructions that are necessary to be taught the cadets, like disassembly and assembly of 45 pistols, disassembly and assembly of M16 rifles, marksmanship, first aid, drill and ceremonies, company drill, platoon drill, squad, unit tactics, presentation of sponsors and camp visits, and fighting or marksmanship. We weren't able to do that because of this problem of no face-to-face learning. So, and besides, there were no personnel available to handle COQC or Cadet Officer Qualifying Course. Several cadets have expressed their interest in taking the advanced course, but they have all since been put on hold because of the situation. The other units in Iloilo have managed COQC. This is because they had the following: availability of commanding officers on campus, availability of proper facilities to facilitate training that is compliant with minimum health standards, proper coordination between the university, RCGG, and the unit, administrative staff that can coordinate with the necessary local government units and authorities, all of which UPB ROTC does not have. Due to this problem listed above, as stated earlier, not all military science subjects, specifically the practical ones, were not covered sufficiently. Drills and ceremonies was not taught at all. Combat proficiency was not taught, and no PFT was administered. Before I end, Jane, may I present to you the sample questions and the answers of the cadets. Questions. Okay. For your information, we have here the sample of the subjects that we asked them to work. And this is the subject on interior guard duty. Here, this is the subject that we asked them to answer. This is about interior guard duty. Please take time to read this assignment given to the cadets. The group divided themselves into two groups also. One taking the affirmative side, the other taking the negative side. This is some sort of a written debate among the students. And the answers are: these are the cadets composing this group. Here are the answers of these cadets. You can have this probably by requesting a copy of this later. These are their answers. And another answer. Negative side. This is the answer of the other group. And these answers are being graded. And we gave them grades for this. Almost all subjects are done in this manner. We give them the subjects and the answer. Submit to us through Facebook also their answers, because we have a group chat, and the corps commander and myself gave them grades based on this. This is what we have. This is the only what we have this afternoon. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Original, for sharing your insights and how you were able to manage the teaching of ROTC for the past year. I think we had a little bit of technical difficulties. We were still, some people were saying na nakikita pa rin po namin yung inyong PowerPoint. So maybe we can provide a copy of those answers to our participants later on after the program.
Yes, sir. You may.
All right. So thank you po so much, Lieutenant Colonel Originals, for your insightful presentation on the idea of doing self-taught discipline, initiative, and independence. And also, of course, yung challenges of teaching ROTC online, lalo na na minimal yung synchronous sessions, no? And mostly asynchronous sessions lang yung available doon sa students. So we have a couple of questions coming in, but we would like to address these questions at the end of our program later on. We'll have a Q&A session after all three of our presenters have shared their insights. At this point, we would like to present a certificate of appreciation po for your presentation. Then the certificate reads, the National Service Training Program, Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, University of the Philippines, Diliman presents this certificate of appreciation to Lieutenant Colonel Eugenio Osorio Original, JAGS, a Reserve Philippine Army, for their active participation as a resource person in the NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup. Given the 16th day of July 2021 via Zoom, signed Dennis F. Kilala, Director, NSTP UP Diliman, and Giovanni Francis A. Legaspi, Deputy Director, NSRC UP Diliman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, sir. Again, a reminder to our participants on Zoom and on YouTube Live, if you have any questions or comments about the presentation, please feel free to send them to us. Pwede nyo pong gamitin yung chat box on YouTube or the Q&A button here on Zoom. Once again, we'll have a Q&A session later after all three of our presenters have shared their insights. Right, moving on, we'd like to go to our second speaker. He is coming to us from UP Los Baños. First Lieutenant Edwin Balmadrid Rala, Reserve Philippine Army, is currently the Assistant Commandant and Administrative Officer of the Department of Military Science and Tactics, or DMST, in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Let us all welcome First Lieutenant Edwin Rala for his presentation.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Sir Carl. No? Good afternoon to everyone. I'm sorry, I cannot mention lahat na naandito, but just the same. Good afternoon and to all the participants. Sir Carl, i-share ko na yung screen ko.
Sure, sir. Go ahead po.
Oops. Yung sound. Okay na? Okay, so before I start yung yung presentation for Los Baños, may video lang ako papakita. Video. Okay, so yung pinakita ko po, what was shown was that those activities na ginagawa namin before the pandemic. So unfortunately, hindi natin maipo-provide sa kadete yon. So hopefully, after, pag nagbumalik na sila, pwede na yung campus activities. We will continue doing those, providing those exciting experience sa mga ROTC cadets natin. Okay? So, I would like to introduce muna myself. I am First Lieutenant Edwin B. Rala, Officer -149952, my serial number, Reserve Philippine Army. I am the Assistant Commandant of UPLB ROTC Unit and the Administrative Officer of UPLB OBCA DMST. Okay. I am a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture graduate in 1992, graduated in 1992 here in UPLB, and also an advanced cadet, advanced ROTC graduate in 1990. After graduating from my advanced ROTC, I joined the probationary officers training course, class of 1990-13. Yeah, and was commissioned through Circular 4 in November of 2016. So medyo matagal. Okay, so ayan ako yan. Now, to introduce yung group naman namin dito, starting from dun sa RCDG. Okay? RCDG. Yeah. So, of course, all RCDGs are under the supervision of the Army Reserve Command, who was then headed by the Commanding General, Major General Phil John L. Bondoc, who retired just last Sunday. So may bago na silang OIC ngayon. Then our ROTC unit is supervised by the 4th RCDG, or Regional Community Defense Group, headed by the Colonel Romulo R. Satparam. And directly supervising the unit is the director of the 403rd Community Defense Center, Lieutenant Colonel Alfredo A. Caneo. Next. Okay, so yung present ko lang yung mga objectives na ginawa namin during the past 2 semester where na tayo under lockdown yung campus. Okay? So before nag-start yung ROTC training namin last semester or first semester of last year, okay, the ARESCOM, or the Army Reserve Command, handed down a new program of instruction. Which we are supposed to implement those training program natin for starting last semester. Right? So this is the progressive program of instruction. Ano yung objective nung progressive program of instruction? Hindi ko mabasa. Okay. So number 1. So we have for those who do not who have no idea kung ano yung sa ROTC muna. Meron tayong basic and advanced ROTC. Yung basic ROTC natin are those who are taking ROTC 1 or Military Science 1 and Military Science 2. So tig 1 semester lang 'yan. So ang total ROTC training ng basic ROTC is 2 semester. So ano yung objective natin sa kanila? Ano yung objective defined by the progressive program of instruction? So basic ROTC students, upon completion of the course, is expected to be an infantry rifleman. His level of knowledge and skills must equate that of a private. Okay? For advanced ROTC naman, graduate of the advanced ROTC, which is Military Science 31, 32, 41, and 42, is equal to that of a non-commissioned officer or NCO or sergeant. His level of knowledge must be that of a sergeant. Okay? So, In addition, for those who are taking advanced ROTC, leadership instructions are provided to prepare them for possible officer commission in the future. Okay, so ang ginagawa natin dito kasi ang reserve component ng AFP is a mirror organization of the regular force. So kung ang ginagawa ngayon ng ang training ngayon na provided by ARESCOM is to provide them basic knowledge or basic experience of what regular forces from the enlisted personnel to officers are experiencing. So that is why we have this progressive program of instruction. Okay? So ayun, so kung ikaw ay basic graduate lang, ang mabibigay sa yung rank after graduating is the rank of private. Okay? Of course, with the serial number. Okay? And if you are a graduate of the advanced ROTC, you will be given a rank of sergeant. But there are several levels ng sergeant. Whether as a reservist na called to active duty or a regular officer, you may opt to choose to go to POTC or the Probationary Officers Training Course, or yon, pag na-undergo mo na yon, you will be given a second lieutenant rank and you may opt to be called to active duty if you want. Okay? Or you can go to OCS or maybe PMA if you like. So para magkaroon kayo ng commission or regular commission in the armed forces. Okay? So doon sa part naman namin dito sa UPLB, ano yung learning management system na ginawa namin to provide itong POI handed down by ARESCOM. So ginawa namin, i-design namin yung system that it must be easy to understand and manage by both student and instructor. So ayaw natin masyadong masakit sa ulo yung sistema natin. Madaling i-manage ng instructor. Kahit siguro 100 to 200 na estudyante kaya ng isang instructor yan, with of course meron siyang technical assistant para hindi or para flawless yung presentation mo. Okay? And it should provide immediate assessment data. Ito yung ito kasi yung problem natin sa sa isang problem natin sa reserve component lalo na sa mga basic at saka sa basic, kasi after taking up yung basic ROTC mo, dapat meron kayo upon being declared graduate, dapat na-i-issuehan na ng serial number coming from ARESCOM. But hindi, tumatagal kasi yan dahil doon sa management ng data. So ang iba diyan kasi medyo luma na yung system na ginagamit, yung iba nga Word. So hindi na gagamit yung yung copy paste, mga ganyan. So yung iba tinatype pa rin or iniisa-isa nila yung mga pangalan. So kaya ang tagal. It takes about siguro mga isang semester pa bago ma-receive yung yung serial number. And supposedly dapat mayroon na sila nung graduate. So if everybody from ROTC units ipapalo lang yung suggested system, magiging mabilis yung ating yung processing ng mga data. And this was noticed, by the way, by no less than the Commanding General of Army Reserve Command na 2 weeks ago when he came to visit the Department of Military Science and Tactics here in UPLB. So ang tinanong niya, iba naman yung pinapresent ko, pero tinanong niya, paano nyo ginawa? So nung sinabi ko, ganito sir, ganito, which later present ko, I was invited to talk with somebody to ARESCOM para may present yung system and maybe gagamitin nila. During the webinar, nakakagulat, lahat pala ng 15 commanding group commander ng RCDG buong Philippines na andun present, and others tsaka yung mga CDC present sila. So narinig na rin siguro, and Lieutenant Anastete was there. We saw him. Okay? So to continue, ito yung tools, ginamit lang namin yung simple, yung mga nakikita natin sa Google Suite. of course, yung Excel at saka yung Zoom for our meeting. So, yung Google Slide, yan, diyan ko ginagawa yung mga lecture natin. Ang dali ng Google Slide kasi pwede mo na immediately mag-attach ng video na makukuha mo sa YouTube. Hindi mo na kailangan siya i-convert into MP4. Attach mo lang doon and then may ano yon, pwede mo na siyang i-process kung saan portion mo gustong ipakita and anong portion gusto mo mag-end. So, very helpful kasi na ano niya, nare-reinforce na yung lecture na pinapresent. Okay? Google Forms dito namin ginagamit namin ito for getting attendance at saka yung quiz, yung mga quizzes. So dito namin nilalagay yan and immediately once nag-submit yung yung ating estudyante, may result na kagad. And may konting processing lang na ginagawa para magkaroon ng summation, ma-total siya or ma-convert siya into yung percent rating niya, ma-convert into yung grading system ng UP. Okay? Google Drive, diyan ko nilalagay lahat ng data, Gmail ko. Google Classroom, okay. So Google Classroom, nandoon yung mga assignment ko, assignment sa estudyante, yung quiz assignment, and all materials na dineliver during the lecture. So, pwede na lang balikan. It's a library of lecture, tsaka yung mga videos, yung pwede na lang. Then, announcements. Dito rin nilalagay namin yung mga announcement. Okay? Yung Excel, ginamit ko ito to further process yung mga data na nakukuha dito sa Google Form. Okay? And next. So, ito naman yung mga formulas na ginamit for computation ng mga grade. Of course, yung summation natin for quizzes, yung count A to immediately know or makuha yung attendance ng ng isang bata. So, at the end of the semester, pag in-apply mo tong yung count A formula, immediately alam mo kung ilan yung attendance niya. Okay? Count if. So, ito yung ginagamit ko para ma-convert yung percent rating to UP grading system. Yan. 10%. And of course, yung data, yung sorting of data sort, arranging data order. So yung mga pangalan ay mabilis natin na i-arrange based on sa letters ng nila, ng surname. Okay. Next is ito yung mga procedures or example ng mga procedures na ginawa namin starting pa ng last semester, yung first semester. Okay? So example lang lecture files. Ano ba ito yung makikita natin dito? Okay, ito yung sinasabi na yung nakalagay doon sa progressive POI handed down by Army Reserve Command. So meron siyang 6 modules. Okay, so military character development module, military leadership development module, military knowledge module, military individual skills development module, collective skills development module, weapons, and yung physical fitness module. Okay? 6 ba siya o 7? So, itong mga modules na to, makikita mo rin doon sa ROTC 2 naman, but with a different subject or may additional subject or a continuation of the subject given doong nung ROTC 1 pa siya or MS1. So the same module, pag nag-advance ka na, yung pa rin siya. But again, with a different subject or with an additional subject, hindi na continuation. Wala na yung continuation hanggang lang yung basic. Okay? And likewise, hanggang sa MS42 o yung last military science subject ng advance. Pare-pareho lang siya. Pero may iba-iba lang yung topics discussed doon sa subject given. Okay, so complete naman yung package na binigay ng Army Reserve Command, including yung mga reference material. So ito sa totoo to kasi naka-link lang ako doon sa aking Google Drive. Pero pag pre-desk ko to, lumalabas na agad yung yung reference. So pag nakita ko na yung reference na yon, doon ako kumukuha ng ile-lecture, ilalagay doon sa lecture material for coming training day, which complies with doon sa scope na sinasabi. So kung ito lang yung scope ng ng subject mo, kunyari dito sa MS42, yun lang yung kukuhanin ko doon sa reference. So hindi lahat. Kasi yung mga yan, yung reference na yan, libro yan, makapal. So, hindi natin kayang ipabasa lahat sa mga estudyante. Especially, ano tayo, naka-online lang. Okay, so yan yung mga lecture po. Okay. Lecture materials. Okay, so sample lecture. Ito yung isang sample lecture na na-produce namin. Okay. So ito, katulad ito, yung, ang subject is Introduction to Infantry Operation. So aside from doon sa mga copy-pasted na material doon sa reference, nilalagyan ko ng video. Something like this. So para mas maintindihan ng estudyante. So check natin 'to. Okay? And para mag-enjoy din sila, maaliw sila doon sa lecture.
Rifleman. Function and responsibilities for your security.
Yeah. So what is being shown doon sa video is how a small unit infantry, this is a squad infantry unit operates. Demonstration lang yan. Demo. Okay. Yan. So other items na naandun sa scope are also presented. So ito pinapresent namin in a synchronous procedure, but hindi naman required yung estudyante na mag-attend, but they are encouraged. So mas effective kasi kung nadidiscuss mo sa kanila and nagkakaroon kayo ng knowledge check during the training day para nakikita mo kung natututunan talaga. Yung iba naman, if for whatever reason hindi sila maka-attend ng training day online, pwede naman nilang balikan doon sa classroom nila. Okay? And then they can use this as reference to submit their quiz assignment later. Okay? Yan. So ito, with regards to drills, kasi may naririnig ako, paano nyo i-conduct yung mga drills? So, drills, yung alam natin, yung mga marchings, na ganyan, marching. Okay, so ang drills kasi ngayon, so kasi nasa progressive POI tayo, no? For basic ROTC, ang required drills lang nila dyan or knowledge is yung small unit, like hanggang squad lang, squad or a 9-man team group, 9-man team. So yung kung ano yung drills ginagawa ng isang squad, hanggang doon lang tayo, limited lang tayo doon. And syempre magsisimula yan doon sa isang element, ano yung ginagawa ng isang soldier o isang element. Ano ba yung mga drills na dapat niyang gawin? So ang sample no nandito. Okay. Hanapin ko pa. Yun. Okay, so gumawa tayo ng video. Right. Okay. Yan. Okay, so gumawa tayo ng video showing yung drills na ginagawa ng small unit like a squad. Okay? So while showing this, may nag-explain.
Harap.
Merong cadet officer
Inspecting the squad.
Nag-explain yan. Kinds of
rest.
Rest, hindi yung nagpapahinga, but yung how soldiers exhibit yung
Tikas,
mga
pahinga.
rest. Yan, tikas, pahinga. So, i-explain niya nung cadet officer.
Paluwag.
And so on. Yan, with the rifle. And likewise, marireview ito ng nung kadete.
Sa kaliwang balikat.
Nakapost yan doon sa kanilang classroom. Okay, so other than that, meron tayong physical fitness training, or the Army doesn't. We were able to conduct this even in online modality. Nasaan na yun? Physical fitness training. Nawala. Teka. Ayun. Okay. So, gumawa rin tayo ng video.
Comments.
Exercise.
Showing yung different exercises na nasa Army Dasen. So, ang Army Dasen naman,
Position of
yun
attention.
yung standard
Move.
exercise ginagawa ng Armed Forces during training. So, ito, kaya Army Dasen shot, there are 12 exercises. So, ang ginagawa namin dyan, hindi naman tuloy-tuloy in one training day. Kukuha lang kami ng 3 to 4 exercise, then ituturo doon sa sa mga kadete, sa ROTC cadets natin, then pe-perform nila. Hindi yung 12 in one sitting. Meron tayong ginawang segment every training day to show yung yung Army Dasen and for our students to experience it. And also, in-encourage namin sila na to do this every day para hindi kayo para ma-exercise kayo. Or not every day, every other day. Yan. So para ma-exercise kayo, especially nasa bahay lang lagi ang mga estudyante natin na yan. Okay, yung example ng classroom, what we will see doon sa classroom na create natin for our student is something like this. Yan. So ito po yung classroom. So dito makikita natin yung mga announcements, what was posted. Yan, nakikita ng estudyante yan. Also, yung sa classwork, dito makikita natin yung yung mga quizzes or yung mga posted lecture like this one, map reading, nandyan siya. So anytime gustong balikan ng estudyante, makikita niya. Okay. Yung quiz, dito nga pala yung quiz. Okay, classroom, quiz assignments. Ayan, ito yung example nung isang quiz assignment na binibigay namin sa estudyante. So, gagawa kami siya sa Google Form, send namin sa kanila. Minsan 10 items lang, minsan 20 items, ganun, depende sa lecture. Then submit niya. So immediately, by the way, ang pag-submit ng quiz assignment ng estudyante is 5 days after may post ko. And normally yung 5th day nasa every Friday yan. So by deadline din naman, 5 o'clock ng hapon. Okay? So if you did not if you were not able to submit doon sa given deadline, you will be given a corresponding demerit. So doon pumapasok ko yun doon sa aptitude rating ng bata. Okay? So 5 days is more than enough para may submit yon. Okay? So immediate yung yung result, nakikita kaagad. Ayun, meron siyang score na kaagad. Okay? Yan. May score. Yan, very useful yung paggamit ng Google Form. Okay? Okay, so yung quiz naman na yon, so every training day meron tayong quiz. So kino-compile natin yan sa isang quiz file. Ito siya. Yan, so ito yan. So may quiz tayo sa Code of Ethics, Standard of Conduct, AFP, Cost of Extradition, and so on. At the end of the semester, meron tayo scoreboard. Scoreboard. So kinukuha ko lang yung mga result every training day, ayan, hanggang makuha ko yung gagamitin natin lang yung summation para makuha yung total. Ayan. So, basic naman yan. Okay. So, ganun lang siya kadali. Okay, may formula. Yan. Quiz file. Attendance. Although attendance is, in fact, alam ko later na yung na-announce na na attendance is not allowed sa assessment or not included sa assessment. So yung mga earlier na namin training days, encourage yung mga estudyante to attend. Okay? So paano kinukuha yung attendance? So ganun din, using Google Form, papasubmit lang ako ng kanilang platoon. Ang tawag dyan is cadet number, not platoon. So lahat ng kadete may corresponding cadet number like this one, A1006. Ibig sabihin nun, member siya ng Alpha Company, first platoon, and pang 6th element siya. Okay? Example lang yan. So lagay niya dito yung kung ano man yung given na cadet number sa kanya, yung name starting with the surname, then sasubmit. Okay? So magkakaroon na kami ng attendance. But further, every time na nagbibigay kami ng ng attendance in Google Form, nagpapa-evaluate na rin kami on how the lecture was conducted. Okay? So may evaluation tayo every training day. So para makita namin ano yung problem or ano yung mga suggestions ng estudyante for them to learn better or para ma-improve yung presentation. Okay? So, ayan, katulad dito. Pag nagkaroon na ng response, ito, example ng response. Yan. So, ganyan yung lalabas for that particular training day. Yan. So, sinasort ko na lang ito doon sa Excel file para mag-alphabetize. Yan, ma-arrange yung kanilang surname at saka yung student or yung cadet number nila. Yan. Then, attendance file. Yun. So, sa attendance file, like yung sa quiz, meron tayong quiz file where kinocompile natin lahat ng quizzes. Dito, lahat ng attendance, ganun din na kinocompile din natin para at the end of the semester, meron tayong assessment ng attendance. Okay? So, ito, like so. So, dito ko ginagamit yung count A formula. Yan siya. So, bibilangin niya ilang beses nag-attend yung estudyante. So, copy-paste lang pababa. Ayan, gagawin niya sa lahat ng kadete yan. Then, assessment file. So, ito na yung compilation naman ng performance ng kadete on their subject proficiency, their attendance. Also, although tinanggal ko na yung attendance, yung percentage niya, rate, percent requirement niya is nilagay na lang namin dito sa subject proficiency. So subject proficiency and aptitude yung So ayan, pag na-total mo na siya, nako-convert na siya into yung final grade or yung sa UP grading system natin. Ayan. Using yung count if na formula. Ayan. So wala tayong grade of 5 or 4, pero meron tayong drop. Ayan. Nung una may incomplete. Yeah. Assessment file. Then, as mentioned earlier, meron tayong student feedback na ginagawa natin doon sa assignment. So, ito, some of the feedbacks, kasi hindi lahat nalagyan namin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 ano lang to example. Okay, so most of the, hindi, unahin muna natin, ano ba yung question? Okay, module, does the module inform me of expected learning? Okay, re-rate nila yon. Yung concept check, the concept check piques my interest towards the lesson. Okay, is the module interactive or the module is interactive? The presentation of lesson is organized. The activity encourages participation and the content and activities are appropriate for helping me prepare for an assessment. So pare-pareho siya. So ayun. So ito yung rating nila sa amin Most of them are nando sa agree tsaka strongly agree. And some meron din tayong disagree, strongly disagree. Ito yung tinitingnan namin. So, ito yung nire-review namin yung mga numbers na yan kung bakit. And we try to improve yung presentation, manner of presentation, o kaya yung mga ating materials, lecture materials, based on comments na ginawa nito. Okay. So, yan. Yun. So, next. Okay, see, these are some of the activities that we were able to conduct during the lockdown. Okay? So, meron kasi tayo mga cadet officer nung earlier part nung lockdown last year na naiwan sa barracks natin. So, they were able to participate in some like ito yung sa pag-package ng mga relief goods. Yung mga donated materials para sa mga stranded students din dito sa campus and outside the campus. Okay? So, nag-participate din sila doing yung early version ng face shield, which is a homemade face shield na tinuro sa amin ni Ma'am Dr. Patricia Sanchez, the wife of the former Chancellor, Dindo Sanchez. Yan. Then ayun nga, tulong-tulong sila sa hakot ng mga relief goods. Okay? So doon naman sa sa training day or yung online training, yung ginagawa namin katulad nito sa first aid, gumagawa lang, mahaba kasi yung first aid na lesson. So hinati-hati namin yon into segments na pinapresent namin every training day. So katulad nito, tungkol sa bandaging lang. Hindi yung iba pang bagay tungkol sa first aid. So next training day naman, ibang topic on first aid. Okay? Then ayan yung picture ng ano to? Sa physical fitness training yan. Ito pala yung physical fitness training. Okay? And also, so nung natapos na yon, lahat ng mga activities na yon, we were able to conduct a graduation ceremony. But before ditong graduation ceremony pala, dapat may bagong corps commander. So there was a selection process na kinonduct to finally name kung sino yung susunod na corps commander. Okay? So medyo mahaba yung process. It includes yung academic performance nila, yung subject proficiency performance nila sa core, physical fitness test, and yung peer assessment ng classmate, ng lower class, and yung assessment sa kanya ng department personnel. Ito yung video ng ating graduation ceremony,
academic,
complete with awards and citation, issuance of certificate, incorporation to the reserve force of our graduate student, and we also have a message which came from our Chancellor. Where is that? Yeah, Chancellor Camacho is here. And finally, the message of the guest of honor, General Bondok. Yan. So, madami siyang it looks simple. Actually, simple lang siya. Pero kailangan mo rin ng mga assistant diyan. So, like sino yung babasa ng mga message do sa chat, during Zoom presentation. So, hindi ko naman nagagawa 'yon at the same time habang nagla-lecture. So, meron ding naggumagawa na naglalagay din sa yung sa room. Ang tawag sa room. Okay, so naglilipat doon sa ibang room. If we want to separate yung mga platoons, meron silang breakout room na sarili where our cadet officers can engage their platoon. So one cadet officer have 28 to 30 cadets na nililid niya. So na-engage niya yon, ano yung nagiging problem, meron ba silang gustong itanong tungkol sa mga lessons na na provide, yung mga ganyan. So may engagement pa rin kahit wala sila dito. May engagement pa rin yung mga leaders natin do sa cadets. Okay? So ayun. So with that, sana makabalik na, magkaroon na ng student activity yung ating mga estudyante para magawa nila ulit ito. Ito yung configuration ng video natin. For my presentation. Thank you very much. Sir Carl.
Maraming salamat po, First Lieutenant Rala, for sharing such a wonderful presentation. No? Ang dami nating natutunan regarding doon sa pagpapatakbo ng isang ROTC program during the pandemic. And thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us very practical tips, lalo na doon sa pagtuturo ng drills. I didn't know na ang pwede palang magturo ng drills through videos, no? So I have a couple of questions on that, and of course our audience have a lot of questions for you as well. Pero mamaya na po yun after our third presenter. Pero for now, sir, we would like to present to you a certificate of appreciation for your time and your effort. The National Service Training Program, Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, University of the Philippines, Diliman presents the certificate of appreciation to First Lieutenant Edwin Balmadrid Rala for their active participation as a resource person in the NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup. Given the 16th day of July 2021 via Zoom, signed Dennis F. Kilala, Director, NSTP UP Diliman, and Giovanni Francis A. Legaspi, Deputy Director, NSRC UP Diliman. Maraming salamat po, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
For our audiences, again, just keep your questions coming. Magkakaroon po tayo ng Q&A session after our third presenter, and we'll try to go through as many questions as we can later on. For now, we would like to move on to our final speaker mula naman po sa UP Diliman. Second Lieutenant Elmar John Anichete, Medical Administrative Corps Reserve, is the training assistant and the assistant NSTP ROTC coordinator of the UP Diliman Department of Military Science and Tactics. He completed the Advanced ROTC course in 2015 and BS Economics in 2016, both from the university. He was commissioned as a reserved officer of the Armed Forces of the Philippines in 2019. As a reservist, he received various awards from the AFP, such as the Disaster Relief and Rehabilitation Operation Ribbon, the Parangal sa Kapanalig ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas Medal, and the Military Civic Action Medal. So, si Second Lieutenant Anichete po will be presenting his presentation to us through a video. So, let's all watch this.
Sa bansa ay 552. Samantalang may 704 na naitalang negatibo sa COVID-19.
Schools remain closed until August 24th because of the COVID-19 scare. And even then, things are not going to be the same.
There will be
How
no
can you instruct the future members of the nation's reserve force in virtual space? Despite the challenges, 334 cadets graduated from the basic ROTC program in core year 2020-2021. How did we do it? The UP Department of Military Science and Tactics, or DMST, adapted its methods of instruction for remote learning. Here's the rundown. UPD ROTC utilizes both synchronous and asynchronous modes of learning. All synchronous activities are optional rather than required, but they enrich the cadets' experience. Required activities such as their modules, assessments, and long exams are all conducted asynchronously. Synchronous PT sessions are conducted every Saturday via Zoom to train our cadets into physical shape. These training sessions are led by a different cadet officer every weekend. We also conduct optional synthesis sessions via Zoom every 2 training weeks to gauge and deepen the cadets' understanding of the asynchronous modules. Based on the open source learning platform Moodle, it has allowed the training staff and the cadet officers to customize lessons according to the demands of the course and the needs of the cadets. Take a moment to explore our LMS and view the courses Military Science 1 and Military Science 2. Cadets are given 1 week to complete each module. We post lecture videos from guest lecturers and our own in-house instructional videos created by our own cadet officers. These videos are uploaded on the UP Diliman ROTC YouTube channel, where you can access our playlists such as First Aid, individual drill, and weapons training. Besides these videos, we also maximize the interactive learning features of the LMS. Cadets are able to tick off what they have and have not yet completed and can track the progress they make. Cadets are assessed through quizzes, essay writing, and video submissions of their own practical exercises. Flipgrid is used as a platform for cadets to submit their videos. Cadets can also view the videos of their fellow ROTC cadets. Line commanders watch these videos to grade their cadets and give feedback and correction. Alternative learning materials are also utilized to the fullest by including more gamified assessments in the lessons in order to make the lessons less theoretical and more experiential. Such examples include the use of the land navigation application developed by OE Games, where cadets simulate a soldier trying to navigate to his objectives using only his beads, map, protractor, and compass. The Corps of Sponsors also collaborate with cadet officers on the LMS to cover the NSTP common modules. The sponsors created assessments that greatly encouraged cadet interaction. They use both asynchronous and synchronous modes of activities to foster camaraderie, team spirit, and a sense of connection with UP DMST. Particularly, their Facebook group where cadets posted ROTC-related memes and the synchronous sponsors time with games and Zoom interaction every synthesis session. Altogether, UPD ROTC has proven that there are ways to train future reservists even in a remote setup. It takes ingenuity, a willingness to take risks, and a great deal of tenacity. With proper planning and execution, it can and it has been achieved.
Good day to all the viewers of this webinar. I am Second Lieutenant Elmar John Anichete, the Assistant NSTP ROTC Coordinator and a Tactical Officer at the UP Department of Military Science and Tactics. I am here to present to you the conduct and implementation of ROTC of UP Diliman in the remote setup. The outline of my presentation is as follows. First, I will provide a brief background on guidelines surrounding our initiative in shifting to remote learning. Then, I will show you the preparations UPDDMST has made for the remote setup, such as the logistical and technical requirements we use to conduct online ROTC. Included in this presentation are the implementation, feedback from the cadets and the implementers, and the challenges we face in remote learning. To give you a brief background, on September 2, 2020, the Commission on Higher Education issued CHED Memorandum Order Number 4, Series of 2020, which sets out the guidelines for higher education institutions in adopting flexible modes of learning during the pandemic. Likewise, the Office of the Vice President for Academic Affairs of the University of the Philippines System issued several memoranda outlining the guidelines for the conduct of remote learning setup. Some of the guidelines are the following. First, attendance in synchronous classes should not be required in the first and second semesters of academic year 2020-2021, given the unequal access of students to reliable internet providers. Synchronous learning refers to all types of learning in which the learners and instructors are in the same place at the same time in order for learning to take place. This includes in-person classes, live online meetings, when the whole class or smaller groups get together. Second, asynchronous mode of learning is preferred over synchronous one. Asynchronous learning's basic premise is that learning can occur in different times and spaces, particular to each learner in asynchronous learning. Instructors usually set up a learning path which students engage with at their own pace. Third, courses in the academic year 2020 and 2021 will be delivered remotely. Any exemption from this policy must be approved by the constituent university chancellor, subject to strict compliance with the guidelines set by countries' interagency task force and local government units and the CUs, as well as the situation of students in the class the unit endorses for exemption. With this in mind, UPDDMST, its training staff, and its cadet officers made the following preparations for the conduct of ROTC in the remote setup. First, we have the instructors training. Members of the training staff and cadet officers attended the Course Redesign 101 training hosted by the UP System Committee on Remote Learning. This course gave our training staff and cadet officers a direct or first-hand experience of remote learning from the learner's point of view, since they were the learners in this course and they did not have face-to-face meeting with the course team or instructor in a physical classroom. The key concept and principles in remote learning that were taught in Redesign 101, which help our training staff and cadet officers, were the following. First, analyzing your learners and the learning context. Organizing the course content, selecting and curating the learning resources, designing the learning activities, planning the assessment, and writing the course guide. Second, setting up of learning management system. Prior to the start of the academic year 2020-2021, UPDDMSD set up its own learning management system based on Moodle, a free open source learning platform. It catered to UP Diliman and UP Manila students since each campus has its own LMS. The department's LMS can be accessed through learn.uprotc.org, and it is through the LMS where learning materials are uploaded and assessments are made. So further preparation, creation of learning materials and assessments. During the break before the first semester and the second semester of academic year 2020-2021, members of the training staff and the cadet officers filmed instructional videos, collate resource materials, and set up the rubrics for the assessment to be used in gauging the learning of our cadets. For the next part of my presentation, I will be enumerating the logistical and technical requirements we use in conducting ROTC in the remote setup. So for the technical requirements in implementing online ROTC, we use platforms and applications such as Moodle, Zoom, Flipgrid, YouTube, Adobe Premiere Pro, and Google applications such as G Drive, G Sheets, G Slides, and G Docs. As I have mentioned before, our learning management system is based on the Moodle platform. DMST chose Moodle over other LMS platforms such as Canvas, Google Classroom, or Edmodo because of its flexibility and wide range of activities and resources. So these activities and resources of Moodle LMS are shown in my slides. For our synchronous session, we mainly use Zoom VTC. We use Zoom primarily for optional physical training sessions and for optional synthesis sessions. Flipgrid is used for video submissions of practical exercises such as individual drill and first aid. Flipgrid's interface allows for submission to be organized into topics and for the instructor to provide immediate feedback to the videos of the cadets. Adobe Premiere Pro is the video editing application we use for creating our own video materials, which we uploaded in our YouTube channel. Google applications are used for other types of assessments, such as essay writing, file submissions, and others. For our logistical requirements for implementing online ROTC mainly consist of personal computer or laptops and internet connection for accessing the learning management system. For creating instructional videos, we use a DSLR camera, studio lights, and green background for easy video editing. Other training materials such as maps, dummy rifles, compasses, radios were used for demonstration purposes. In implementing ROTC in the remote setup, UP Diliman DMST utilized both synchronous and asynchronous modes of learning, both of which I have explained earlier. ROTC synchronous sessions are optional for the cadets to attend and are of two types: the physical training session and the synthesis session. All synchronous sessions are conducted via Zoom BTC. Physical training sessions are conducted every week, and it includes activities such as warm-up exercises, workout proper, and cool-down exercises. Synthesis sessions are conducted every 2 weeks for at most 2 hours, where we do activities such as sponsors time and synthesis of topics included in the synchronous module for the past 2 weeks. Sponsors time are the fun and engaging activities hosted by the members of the Corps of Sponsors that aim to boost the morale of the cadets, encouraging rapport within the cadet units, and help them apply their learnings from the module. During synthesis sessions, cadets may consult with their cadet officers regarding the topics in their learning management system. The cadet officers and members of the training staff also use this time to supplement and deepen the understanding of cadets in their military science topics. Majority of the conduct of online ROTC is done via a synchronous mode of learning through our learning management system. Topics in the NSTP Common Module and Military Science are uploaded in the LMS. And lecture materials may be in the form of online readings, video lectures with transcript, or interactive lessons. Video lectures are uploaded in UP Diliman ROTC's YouTube channel. You can access our playlist using the link displayed on your screen. All materials used as references in creating our lecture materials were properly cited in our LMS. NSTP Common Module topics and Military Science topics are divided into 10 modules per semester. All modules are available for viewing at the start of the semester in the LMS, but the module assessments are scheduled weekly. Cadets are assessed in various forms, such as quizzes and discussion forums, which are done through the LMS, essays and other file submissions, which are done using Google applications, and video submissions of practical exercises uploaded in the Flipgrid. Aside from that, UP Diliman DMST utilizes HTML5 package or H5P interactive videos, which may be added as a plugin in the Moodle LMS, and mobile games such as the land navigation application developed by OE Games for US Army Training and Doctrine Command. H5P interactive videos are useful in assessing topics that require decision making, such as first aid. So to know more about H5P and to access the land navigation application, you may check the links flashed on your screen. Announcements regarding the deadline of modules and schedule of synchronous sessions are posted in our LMS. All these learning materials and assessments I mentioned were shown in the first video I presented. For the grading system we use in UP Diliman ROTC, we follow the guidelines set by the university wherein attendance should not be included in the grading system and that no grade of 4s or 5s shall be given, but instead they shall be given an incomplete or drop grade. Grades are computed using two components, 60% for submodule completion and 40% for subject proficiency. Submodule completion is computed by dividing the cadet's completed submodule over the total number of submodules. This is accomplished when a cadet submits his or her assessments and then gets a grade of at least 70%. Subject proficiency is meanwhile computed by taking the average of the cadets' two long examinations. To pass, cadets must obtain at least 45% for completion and 30% in subject proficiency. Failing any of these two components will mean getting a grade of incomplete in the course. So for our feedbacks and challenges that we have encountered during the conduct of ROTC in the remote setup, based on the anonymous student evaluation provided by our cadets last academic year 2020 to 2021, an overwhelming majority of them are satisfied with the way UP Diliman DMST handled the basic ROTC program. Some cadets, however, noted that the conduct of online ROTC is internet data intensive, especially for our long video lectures, particularly the NSTP common module part and the submission of video files for practical exercises. Other cadets commented that while the practical exercises we require are enough for remote learning, it is still not enough to fully equip them as future military reservists, since some exercises can only be properly done physically with the right equipment, such as marksmanship, small unit tactics, and the like. One of the major challenges faced both by the cadets and our instructors is the stability of internet connectivity. Some of our cadets and instructors reside in provinces where internet connectivity is a problem. Another challenge that we face is the shortened semester from 16 to 17 weeks in the previous academic years to 14 to 15 weeks last academic year. This shortened semester resulted in the overloading of topics per week, which is done in order to satisfy the prescribed program of instructions. Aside from that, our cadet officers sometimes have difficulty engaging or contacting our cadets because they either don't respond in group chats or do not attend the optional synchronous sessions. In summary, UP Diliman DMST was able to adapt its methods of instruction in order to provide quality training despite the challenges and difficulties of remote learning. And this is a system that can be used in the future even if face-to-face classes resume. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
All right. Maraming salamat po, Second Lieutenant Anichete, for that very comprehensive presentation. And of course, ang dami niyang naibigay sa atin na resources, no, from the LMS that UP Diliman has used, and also the gamified assessment tools and other and mobile games that can be used for teaching and assessment. So nandito po siya, kasama po natin siya ngayon sa loob ng ating Zoom webinar. So you can direct some of your questions to him after in a short moment. Pero for now, we'd like to present Second Lieutenant Anichete with a certificate of appreciation for his very comprehensive presentation. So the certificate reads, the National Service Training Program, Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, University of the Philippines, Diliman, presents this certificate of appreciation to Second Lieutenant Elmar John Anichete for their active participation as a resource person in the NSTP Online, ROTC, CWTS, and LTS in a remote learning setup Given this 16th day of July 2021 via Zoom, signed Dennis F. Kilala, Director NSTP UP Diliman, and Giovanni Francis A. Legaspi, Deputy Director NSRC UP Diliman. Maraming salamat po sir for your time.
Maraming salamat din po. Maraming salamat po.
Right. Once again, we would like to thank our three speakers who have presented today, si Lieutenant Colonel Eugenio Osorio Original from UP Visayas, First Lieutenant Edwin Rala from UP Los Baños, and of course, Second Lieutenant Elmar Anichete from UP Diliman. So kanina pa pumapasok yung mga questions natin from YouTube and here sa loob ng Zoom webinar. So I'd like to go ahead with our Q&A session now. First question po, I think this is directed to everyone who has presented. How can we improve our current strategies for ROTC implementation next semester? So siguro let's go to Lieutenant Colonel Original first. Sir, if you're still there.
Yes.
The question po is, how can we improve our current strategies for ROTC implementation next semester?
I think the support of the university is very much needed. As I listened to the presentation of my two colleagues, although we have not made any video presentation, we almost do the same. Pareho lang. Pareho lang ginagawa. Like how to demonstrate salute drills. We do it also through video, only that we have not presented it here. Hindi namin na-present dito, pero ganun din ang ginagawa dito sa Iloilo. So, kung tanong, paano natin ma-improve yan? Support ng, I do not know sa UP Diliman at saka sa Los Baños, siguro okay ang support. Pero dito sa amin sa Iloilo, mahirap. We have no money coming from the administration because of stringent requirements. So we spend our money for the training of the cadets. Thank you.
All right. Salamat po, sir, for your answers. Tumungo po tayo kay First Lieutenant Rala. Sir, your thoughts po on the same question.
Yes. I think napansin ko rin yung katulad ng presentation ni Lieutenant Anisete, magkaiba kami ng yung module na ginagawa. But this module kasi came from RESCOM. So I think we need to study it and apply it para pare-pareho tayo ng tinuturo din sa ROTC natin. And I think very comprehensive kasi siya. And very yung scope niya is defined na per military science course from sa basic at saka doon sa sa advanced. So madali na siyang i-convert into a online presentation, mas madaling maintindihan ng estudyante together with video presentation. Na siya, 'di ba? Mas madaling maintindihan ng bata, mas madaling matutunan.
With due respect, we have also that kind of module or materials coming from 6 RCDG. We also apply that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, sir, for your answer. At punta po tayo kay Second Lieutenant Anichete kasi kanina na-mention niyo po na parang very comprehensive yung pag-present niyo nung paano niyo inadapt yung module to online. Do you have are there any points for improvement that you would like to implement for the following semester?
For points of improvement na mga dapat implement for semester, we still need more trainings pa para sa mga instructors natin. Of course, hindi madali na yung, for example, yung current batch ngayon, may mga ilan lang na may alam about video editing. So, hindi naman dapat, we should not just rely alone on those na may talent ng video editing sa mga instructors natin. So, kailangan i-enrich muna yung mga instructors ng ROTC or bigyan sila ng capability on how to implement it kasi nasanay tayo na yun doon sa face-to-face setup. So now, ito more on technical aspects talaga yung kailangan. So more training ang kailangan for the instructors of the ROTC para ma-implement.
Mas
So,
ma-implement na mabuti.
So echoing nga yung insight ni
Agree.
Sir Original kanina, no, na resources and technical upgrading ng skills, no, sir?
I agree with that. That's nice.
Right. Maraming salamat po. Let's move on to the second question. This is directed to Sir Rala. Is this POI the standard across all UP system institutions, or is this specific to UP Los Baños?
The POI, the progressive POI, was cascaded just first sem last year, ano. So I'm not sure kung ginagamit na rin ng other ROTC units, but I think Colonel Original has already stated na ginagamit na rin nila yung yung
Ginagamit
POI
ng
na
lahat
yan.
ng ROTC, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ginagamit ng lahat ng ROTC units kasi nire-distribute din dyan ng 6RCDG.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Right. Sir, also still for you po, yung next question, do you have data on how many students who graduated from MS-44 who entered the military?
Once you are a graduate of basic, you are already in the military as reservist. Okay, but if you are an advanced, wala akong number nung those who graduated ng advanced who pursued a career in the armed forces. Wala akong number na, although I know several. Pero hindi ko masasabi yung number talaga. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question po, I think pwede niyo pong sagutin to, pwede niyo pong lahat sagutin to. Is there a standardized video presentation for each module or subject prepared by ARESCOM?
Standard.
We prepared our own. We have not received any offsets from ARESCOM. Kami-kami lang sa aming staff. I don't know the same probably with Diliman and Los Baños.
Yes, ganun din sir, likewise but if yung instructor have a good knowledge nung subject, he can already pick insert videos that are relevant, related doon sa subject na pine-present mo. And very important talaga yung training ng instructor. Dapat
Yes,
qualified siya, qualified. So para maintindihan niya yung tinuturo niya and masuportahan niya if needed ang video, then he select the proper video na ilalagay doon.
Absolutely agree, sir.
So sir, yes, go ahead po.
Yes, sir. So as for Diliman din po, same po, no? So as you can see in my presentation, kanina po, I posted the YouTube playlist po ng mga video materials na meron kami. Yung pong mga yun ay gawa po ng mga cadet officers po namin na may mga technical knowledge. So we produce our own lecture videos po.
So paano po, follow up lang po doon, no? Paano po yung mga instructors na wala pang alam doon sa video editing and yung production, kasi syempre ibang language and ibang type of skills yun, no? Are you planning on upgrading their skills for the upcoming academic year?
Sir, sabi ni Lieutenant yung sa UP Diliman, yung officers ang gumagawa. Yes, in our case, the same. Kasi yung mga staff na medyo matatanda na, hindi na alam yun. Yung cadet officers, ang may more knowledge about that. Kasi alam nila. Silang gumagawa ng mga video, lahat.
Mm-hmm. Alright.
For UP Diliman, yes, we plan to upgrade the skills of our cadet officers. Pero for example, hindi naman din kasi lahat required for video editing. So, collaborative yung effort na ginagawa ng mga cadet officers. Yung iba, at saka training staff, yung iba ay nagko-conceptualize ng mga, for example, conceptualize nung kung ano yung kukuhanan. Then yung iba naman ay yung cinematography or directing or lighting. So, may iba't ibang strengths yung bawat instructor, which we use to, kumbaga ginagamit namin lahat sabay-sabay para naman makapag-produce kami ng matinong training materials.
So it's collaboration, no?
For UP Los Baños naman, Sir Carl, for
Yes,
UP Los Baños, we are planning to employ the assistants of lecturers for this coming semester. So, ganun din yon. If you are going to employ instructors, kailangan aligned yung knowledge nila or yung skills nila kung paano i-deliver yung ROTC training, di ba? So there are certain talents, knowledge na dapat aware sila and para deliver natin properly. Yung mga skills regarding video editing, ganyan, paggamit ng mga online tools, those are in fact skills necessary ngayon. Di ba? We need to teach them, of course. Ayun, kailangan lang magkaroon ng isang setting siguro for each unit na ituro doon sa instructors. So instructors, trainers training mangyayari for this purpose. Diba? So properly equipped lahat and aligned doon sa sa objective natin.
Alright.
Actually,
Salamat
sir,
po, sir.
pwede ba,
Sige, go ahead po.
pwede ba ako magdagdag, no, sir? Malaking tulong sa amin sa UP Diliman yung ginawang hosting na Course Redesign 101 ng UP System Committee on Remote Learning. If University of the Philippines System can open that course to others, to other SUCs, malaking tulong po yun para sa kanila po. Kasi halos lahat po ng materials or knowledge namin regarding remote learning, ito pong mga materials na share ko rin po ngayon, sa kanila po namin nakuha yung mga idea po na yun doon sa Course Redesign 101. So nagpapasalamat po talaga ako doon sa short course na ginawa po ng UP System on Remote Learning. Thank you po.
May suggestion ako, sir. How about ang UP System magawa ng like mag-organize ng training sa lahat na ROTC, may representative lang coming from each ROTC. Pwede kaya?
Oh, that's a good idea, no, sir? Yung universal na parang training module for everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, that's really something that we should be able to look into, no? So regarding related dun sa question ng platform, sir, no, your next question natin is about connectivity. Can we some of the challenges in this online platform is connectivity. Can we have or elevate to the most convenient way to be applicable to all cadets, especially those residing in far-flung areas without internet? So I think, sir, yung question niya is regarding doon sa dealing with cadets who don't have internet connection or have spotty internet connection. How have you dealt with this in your experience?
Government should help us. The national government should help us.
Agreed po. Agreed po, sir. Kayo po, Sir Rala and Sir Anishete, how have you dealt with internet connectivity issues, particularly pag synchronous sessions, no?
So sa amin, dito sa UPLB, it is already a known fact na hindi lahat may available connectivity. So we prepared yung training for such a issue, So that's why meron tayong classroom. So anytime na meron silang chance ma-visit yung classroom, all the materials are there for them to read. Okay? So yes. Hindi naman every week, every day of the week kailangan pumunta ka doon. No, 'di ba? Maski magkaroon ka lang ng isang chance lang and maximize that time na meron ka to maybe read or maybe download yung some of the materials. That is why shortened siya. Pwedeng i-download yon for you to read on your own time.
Yes, sir. In my presentation, I said the cadets who cannot attend our synchronous session ay kumukuha na lang ng materials doon sa
classroom.
Yeah. Doon sila kumukuha.
Same with UP Diliman naman. So first of all, we don't require synchronous sessions. Synchronous sessions are there to enrich the experience of the cadets, mainly during the asynchronous session. So yung sa amin, sa Moodle namin, sa learning management system na ginagamit namin, doon namin ina-upload yung materials. And then again, start of the semester, accessible na siya kagad. Para for example, may one time na makapag-access ng internet yung mga kadete natin, they can download all the materials already. And then of course, compassion din talaga. So we need to be lenient sa deadlines. And then we don't expect naman that na kaya lahat mag-submit. Kaya kami, for example, 1 week ang binibigay namin na deadline. And of course, we extend that deadline din kung sakasakali na hindi nila masubmit for 1 week. As long as may, simple lang naman, isang military correspondence letter lang ipapadala ng mga cadets namin. And then, share ko lang din na nung, for example, nung nagkaroon ng bagyo nung first semester, I think that's Typhoon Rolly, I can't remember. Kasama sa budget ng Department of Military Science and Tactics yung pagpapadala ng course pack. So we printed everything na materials. Of course, yung video, hindi na namin magagawa yun. But yung transcript ng video, we send it to the cadets. And of course, we just waited for the cadets na, for example, and we agreed with the cadets na kahit end of semester na nila ipasa or isubmit yung mga module assessments nila. So that's how we deal so far with the internet connectivity problems. Pero so far naman, yun, compassion lang talaga na kailangan ibigay sa mga cadets and understanding. Thank you po.
Maraming salamat po for your answers. I think we have time for one more question. No? Practical exercises is lacking in remote learning setup. Is there a planned remedial course just for practical exercises when face-to-face training is allowed? So I think this is addressed to everyone.
Sige po, share ko na po.
Sige, go ahead po.
Okay po, so for UP Diliman po, sa amin po nakakagawa kami ng mga practical exercises for those na mga kayang gawin sa mga bahay. Again, we use the platform Flipgrid. So we ask our cadets to submit a video recording of themselves. For example po, meron kaming, nagpapademonstrate kami ng hand salute, ng harap sa likod, harap sa kaliwa, harap sa kanan, drill, and then for example, individual movement techniques po. So, para po mag-gauge yun, meron po mga rubrics na or mga standards na sineset and then kokomentan namin. Of course, is it perfect? Hindi po. Mahirap po talaga i-gauge yung practical exercises and minsan talaga kailangan ng real-time correction or real-time comments sa mga sagot sa mga practical exercises ng mga kadete natin. But of course, isa yun sa mga adaptations na talagang kailangan namin gawin for the remote learning. Again po, i-introduce ko yung Flipgrid.
We do the same at UP Visayas. By video, exercises, lahat-lahat. Ang instructor at siyempre, ang instructor at saka ang estudyante, individually, ay gumagawa na gano'n. That's the only way we can do it. Wala na. The only way.
No planned remedial classes na daw in the future, sir. Yun na yun.
Kung nakagraduate sila, paano pa sila ipabalik at mag-actual sa practical? Hindi na pwede siguro.
Or as UP Los Baños, maybe, yun yung sinasabi ko doon sa mga kadete, especially itong nandito sa, yung nasa lockdown sila. Those of you, kunyari, meron na tayong face-to-face activity sa campus, allowed na, you can sit down, parang yung sit-in, diba, with us. Hindi ko lang may papromise sa inyo that I can accommodate you during camp visit. Kasi I know the university will not allow that for them to be with us during camp visit, yung out-of-campus activity. But if you want to sit with us during training days, you can, why not? Diba? Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, gentlemen, for your answers. I'm sure a lot of our participants have a lot more questions to ask, pero unfortunately, that is our time for today. So our team will be displaying yung contact po ng ating mga resource speakers. If you have any more questions or if you're looking for copies of their presentations, please direct them to their email address. That's now being flashed on the screen. And so once again, maraming salamat po sa inyong participation sa webinar ngayong hapong ito. So to close today's webinar, we would like to call on Assistant Professor Giovanni Legaspi, Deputy Director ng NSRC UP Diliman, for the closing remarks.
Okay, maraming salamat, Carl. At syempre muli, maraming salamat sa ating mga naging resource speakers para sa hapong ito, no? Sa NSTP Online, para sa ROTC in Remote Learning Setup. Siyempre si Lieutenant Colonel Original, si First Lieutenant Trala at si Second Lieutenant Elmar Anisiete. So ito naman talagang talakayan natin ngayong hapon, no? Ang ROTC talaga ay isa sa mga humarap sa pagsubok ngayong pandemya at maging sa remote learning setup, no? Kung paano ipapatupad ang remote learning sa panahon na ito. So sa tulong na naging pamamaraan at kakayanan na naibahagi ng ating mga resource speakers na sa hapong ito ay naging mas praktikal, no? At kakayanin ang pagpapatupad ng ROTC kahit walang face-to-face na activities, no? So naibahagi kanina, no, yung mga challenges moving forward, health and well-being concerns, no, maging ng mga kadete at mga estudyante ng ROTC, ang overall moral, no, na kailangan din nating tignan, no, at ang pasilidad na maaring isa sa mga makakatulong, no, upang maipamahagi, no, at pagpatuloy, no, ang ganitong klaseng pagtuturo. At napakaganda, no, ng ating napakinggan kanina, no, lalo na yung binanggit ni Lieutenant Colonel Original, no, particular doon sa pagpapadaloy, no, na alternative activities in a form of written debate, no, among students, no, na isa ito sa siguro magandang halimbawa kung paano tayo mag-innovate, no, at magbuo ng panibagong pamamaraan, no, kung paano mahikayat ang mga ROTC students, no, at maging ang paggamit, no, ng iba't ibang apps sa online learning platforms at use of video, no, at ito ay naipamahagi din kanina, no, ni First Lieutenant Rala, no, na naging na-visualize, so kung paano ito gagawin, no, kahit na walang physical at face-to-face activities, so na napakahirap talagang gawin sa isang ganitong klaseng programa ng ROTC. Ngunit ito ay naging mas nakahikayat at naengganyo, no, ang ating estudyante kung paano ito maisasagawa at through experiences na nakikita nila sa video. At maging ang physical training din, ano, at gaya na nabanggit ni siyempre ating Second Lieutenant Elmar, no, si Sir Elmar, ay particular din sa mga video submissions, no, for practical assessment at yung mga nagagawa rin, no, through gamified assessment, no, na napakahusay. At ang emphasis nito ay less theoretical at naging more experiential. So lahat ito, no, na nakatulong at maraming salamat po sa inyong pagpapabahagi at sana ay nabigyan ng mas malawak, no, na pamamaraan kung paano mo isagawa, no, ang talakayan patungkol sa ROTC, no, in remote learning setup. So hindi pa po nagtatapos ang ating NSTP Online, no, dahil meron pa po ito sa susunod na linggo, no, at ibabahagi naman ang ibang components, particular sa CWTS at LTS, no. So layunin syempre ng UP Diliman NSTP Office na tulungan ang lahat, no, na maging makabuluhan pa rin ang pagpapatakbo, pagpapadaloy at pagpapatupad ng NSTP programs, no, kahit sa remote setup, no. Ito ay tulong, no, na gusto nating ibahagi sa lahat ng SUCs at HEIs at syempre sa tulong din ng iba't ibang UPCUs. So ngayong araw na ito mula sa UP Visayas, UP Diliman at UP Los Baños. At ito naman ay ating pagninilay-nilayan at sana ay sama-sama tayo sa susunod pang or sa upcoming academic year at tulong-tulong sa pagpabahagi ng ating kaalaman, no, at kakayanan na maibahagi ito para sa lahat, no. So tayong lahat dito ay tumutulong, collaborative, nabanggit nga kanina, at sharing of best practices, no, skills, knowledge at maging ang resources natin, no. So salamat muli sa ating mga naging resource persons sa hapon na ito. Isa po sigurong virtual na palakpak, no, upapuso para sa kanilang lahat, no. At maging para sa ating lahat na rin, no, lahat tayo na nandito sa Zoom or YouTube Live, no. At nakibahagi tayo sa isang makabuluhang talakayan ngayong hapon. So mula sa pamunuan ng UP Diliman sa pamumuno ni Chancellor Fidel Nemenso, ang OVCAA ng UP Diliman mula kay Vice Chancellor Tess Payong Ayong, ang UP Diliman NSTP Office sa pamumuno ni Director Dennis Kilala. So kami pong lahat ay nagpapasalamat sa inyong lahat sa pagdalo ng hapon na ito. Maraming salamat po at ingat po kayong lahat.
Alright, maraming salamat po Professor Legaspi. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga speakers ngayong hapon and of course sa ating mga nanood sa YouTube, sa ating mga participants sa loob ng ating Zoom webinar. Kung gusto niyo pong balikan yung particular speeches ng ating speakers, Kung nasa asynchronous mode po kayo, pwede nyo pong balikan ito sa UP Diliman NSTP YouTube channel. Hanapin lang po ang NSTP Diliman sa YouTube. To our participants, please don't forget to accomplish the evaluation form. The link is on the screen. That is bit.ly/NSTP Online ROTC. Muli, maraming salamat po sa pagdalo at magkita-kita po tayo muli para naman sa NSTP Online on CWATS. Part 1 po is on Wednesday, July 21. CWATS Part 2 on Thursday, July 22 and LTS on Tuesday, July 27. Ako po muli si Carl Sayat. Maraming salamat po sa pagdalo.
Thank you.